In relation to Colorado law, natural law is embedded in our Constitution, Article 2, Section 3. Also, Article 2, Section 2, and some of the other articles as well. But specifically natural law, life, liberty, I want to say happiness, property, safety. Section 3, Article 2, the Bill of Rights, Section 3, check it out. They specifically say that as humans, as a human being, we have inalienable rights, right? That's what Thomas Jefferson said in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was some of our inalienable rights. Well, they list out some specific ones. They mention happiness, and happiness is fleeting, so I think what that means is we have a right for space for happiness. Right, for space. I mean, nobody can give you happiness, but they can allow you the space to pursue your happiness. So, natural law. Natural law is the right to revolution, the right to defend yourself, the right to food and water, forgiveness of debts after your death. So there's a couple natural laws right there, but specifically, Thomas Hobbes had talked about natural law, and he deduced 19 natural laws. So it turns out we could deduce a ton. We could deduce a bunch. We could deduce a bunch when it comes to being a rational animal. So specifically, I want to talk about the U.S. Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. Actually, July 2nd, 1776. And the natural law, not only is it in the Colorado Constitution, it's also in the Vigil decision, which is where self-defense comes from. But it came from the U.S. Declaration of Independence, and every single, I would say a boatload of constitutions has listed natural laws in, their Bill of Rights. So, natural law, what is natural law? Natural law is law that comes from nature, from which man, a rational animal, can deduce. And we could deduce a bunch. And in the beginning, I guess 200 years ago, it was to counter the divine right of kings. Oh, God said you get to enslave everybody. Oh, okay. Oh, God told you that, huh? Well, God told me I'm allowed to defend myself, and God told me resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. That's what God told me. God told you get to enslave everybody? Okay, well, God told me I get to punch you in your mouth just for thinking that. Yeah, no, you can't. Don't even think like that. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Hey, that guy looks nice. I bet I could make him my slave. So fuck King George III. But when the long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it's their right. It's their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. 76 U.S. Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These words have echoed throughout time, all throughout the world. Could you imagine being an American and just being like, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness? What the hell are you talking about? In the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson is the one who used the phrase laws of nature in order to define our natural rights as opposed to divine rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these are categorical imperative natural laws. So there you go. We have self-defense, right to revolution, forgiveness of debt after we're dead, right to food, water, clothing, shelter, and a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's very succinct and brilliant. Fucking brilliant. Almost so brilliant, makes me think it's going to inspire a French and a Haitian revolution. And we'll see how it goes. The Declaration of Independence declared that the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled our American nation to assume independence by the powers of the earth by way of revolution. Here's from the unanimous Declaration of Independence of the 13 colonies. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. So, when you declare independence, right, you got to tell everybody why you declare it, but they're going to become an independent nation along with the other independent nations, of which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. Both the laws of nature and of nature's God. Which is kind of the same thing. It's eternal law, right? He's talking about eternal law, which is Aquinas. Aquinas said that we could never figure out God's law, but what natural law is, it's man's participation in eternal law. So we can get close to God's law, and we call that eternal law. So that's natural law. The basis of natural law comes from the Colorado Constitution, comes from the U.S. Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence addressed the opinions of mankind, based its appeal on the basis of the laws of nature and of nature's God, justifying not only independence but revolution. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So we get to overthrow our government when we say we're not happy and we're not safe. We don't have safety, we don't have happiness, so we as a people, we're going to rise up and we're going to create a new system for ourselves so we can get happiness and safety, and make sure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that make sure those rights are secured. How do we secure those rights? Through government. So in a way, government, it was a necessary evil, right? Isn't that Jefferson? And deriving our just powers from the consent of the governed. So that's democracy. That's a republic. That's a democratic republic. So that's awesome, right? When we Americans aren't happy or safe, then as a critical mass, we can overthrow our government, but not a moment prior. Thomas Jefferson articulated how he believed it was self-evident that all men are created equal, that human beings had civil rights, specifically life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the state of nature. King George III has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against 13 united colonies. He's plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. Complete is misspelled. Complete is misspelled. All those grammar Nazi motherfuckers. Did you ever say, hey, Declaration, hey, founders, how come you didn't spell? No, you better spell your words right. Complete. C-O-M-P-L-E-A-T. It sounds the same. So I got 16 natural laws here, but I thought of some. He plundered our seas, so don't plunder the seas. Don't ravage the coast. Don't burn down our towns. Don't destroy the lives of our people. There's 4 natural laws right there. So here's the 16 natural laws that I extrapolated from the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. The right to a fair jury trial. The right to petition. No standing armies during peacetime. No taxation without consent. constitutional self-government, separation of powers, the three branches of government, naturalization of new citizens possible, right to commerce, I guess right to naturalization for new citizens, right to commerce and trade for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. His laws are foreign to our Constitution. A free system of English laws, civil power, maintains superiority over military power, no quartering large bodies of armed troops amongst us. Troops aren't protected from murder of a citizen or of an inhabitant of these states by mock trial. So troops can't murder. Thou shalt not murder, even if you're a troop, even if you're a soldier, and the right to safety. So, there you go. There you go. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. We got racist there at the end, didn't it? 1776, Declaration of Independence, and the natural laws extrapolated thereof.